Well, I never expected to be making this video today. As some of you may or may not know, I don't particularly collect modern toys and I very rarely review modern toys on this channel. But yesterday I was given a task by my wife to go to our local Kmart and pick up a new rubbish bin for the kitchen. And while I was there, I always take a look at the toy aisle in Kmart when I go there, and often it's pretty sparse. There's not a lot on offer. Particularly with all the quarantine that's going on at the moment, they're actually struggling to get supplies. But as I went through there yesterday, I was very, very surprised to find some of these 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back Black Series 6-inch figures. And I was quite taken by them. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to pick a few of these up because they're some of my favourite characters from one of my all-time favourite films, certainly my favourite Star Wars film. And I didn't just pick up these, I actually picked up quite a few figures. So today we're going to review these toys. We're going to take a look at the packaging, the sculpting, the articulation and the accessories. So if you'd like to take a closer look at these awesome 6-inch Black Series figures, you've come to the right place.
Come with me, toy fans.
Hey toy fans, my name is Tony and welcome to Analog Toys, where we're obsessed with bringing you the history of vintage toys and action figures. But today we're going to look at some modern toys. So I think first of all we'll start off by talking about the packaging. Basically the packaging is an upscaled version of the original Kenner card backs, and in the top left corner you will see this very nice little silver foil logo representing the 40th anniversary of the Empire Strikes Back. I really like the fact that a dueling Luke and Vader, you know, in a lightsaber duel, actually represent the TH in 40th. I think that's pretty cool. Now there were actually 5 figures released in this line. Luke Skywalker Bespin, you've got Yoda, you've got Hoth Leia, Bespin Han Solo, and an AT-AT driver. The reason I didn't pick up the AT-AT driver is, for me, it just kind of didn't fit with the set, you know. I'm not going to collect loads of these. I just wanted a set of the core characters. And probably some of the decisions around which characters they chose is probably one of my biggest issues with these, but I'll probably talk more about that later in the video. Now, the 2 best card backs in the bunch is Yoda and Princess Leia Organa in her Hoth outfit. The photos are really, really crisp with nice colours and very, very accurate. The Han Solo one, you know, it's much like the original Kenner card back, but it's a little bit blurry, a little bit out of focus. But the most disappointing one for me is actually the Luke Skywalker Bespin card back, where the image has been horribly, horribly photoshopped. It looks like a 5-year-old did it on an iPad. I'm really, really not impressed with the card back art here. But the card back art isn't a deal breaker for me because I'm not going to display these in the package. I'm going to get these open so that we can review them properly, and I want to display this set of core characters together. So first of all, let's take a closer look at Yoda. Now, the Yoda figure, it's pretty nice. I like the cloth goods robe. I like the snake. Unfortunately, with the skin colour being a little bit greener than what I think it really looked like in the Empire Strikes Back movie, it's almost as though he was copied off of the CGI version of Yoda from the prequel movies, as opposed to the puppet. That's probably one of the drawbacks for me. I don't know why they gave him a lightsaber accessory. I mean, perhaps Hasbro felt they needed to make up for the shorter stature of the figure. That didn't really bother me, but obviously Yoda never used a lightsaber in The Empire Strikes Back, so I don't know why they've packed him in with one here.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Next up we have Han Solo in his Bespin fatigues, and this is a really, really striking figure. The face sculpt is spot on. This is really, really accurate to the likeness of Harrison Ford back in 1980. I think the sculpting of the overall costume is very well done. His blaster accessory is very nicely done, fits easily into the holster on his drop leg holster on his belt there. And the articulation is excellent. You can get some really interesting poses with this figure. Looking at this Han Solo figure, I'm almost wondering if I've been missing out all these years on not collecting Black Series 6-inch figures, but I do particularly like this figure.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Luke Skywalker, on the other hand, is quite a letdown for me, which is a shame because it's my favourite character in the series and this is my favourite interpretation of the character, as evidenced by the segment I contributed to Retroblasting's recent video on Bespin Luke. Throughout the original trilogy saga, Luke Skywalker's character arc is clearly laid out, going from farm boy in the original film, to a Rebel Alliance member in the second film, and on to being a Jedi Knight in the third film. In terms of story structure, the first and third acts are the bread of the sandwich, with the middle act being the meat of the matter, and it's in The Empire Strikes Back that we see Luke grow the most. In this film, and particularly in the scenes on Bespin, Luke is the rebel fighter, and I adore his military-styled costume, but my adoration for the character in this movie goes far beyond the aesthetic. It's in this middle act of the saga that we see Luke face his greatest challenge by going up against Darth Vader with limited Jedi training. And although he ends the film battered, having lost his right hand in a lightsaber battle, he also regroups with the Alliance and prepares to face the Empire once again. And his grit and determination in the face of insurmountable odds is what true heroes are made of. Now, this is far from a terrible figure. It's pretty good, but what lets it down for me is that when you compare the face sculpt to the one for Han Solo and Princess Leia, it's just not up to the same standard. I think that the face sculpts for Han and Leia here, Hasbro have absolutely nailed the face sculpts. There's just something a little bit off about the face sculpt for Luke Skywalker in his Bespin outfit, which shouldn't really be called a Bespin outfit anyway. It's his Rebel fatigues, his Rebel ground uniform. But face sculpt aside, I think Hasbro have really nailed the uniform. The sculpting on the boots looks excellent. The Rebel blaster is very, very well designed. It fits easily into the holster. And also Luke has got the correct grip in his hand to hold the blaster in a firing pose. And the really cool thing about the lightsaber here is that the blade is removable. So you can just hang the lightsaber hilt from his belt, which I actually think is probably the better way to display this particular accessory. So yeah, I think Luke Skywalker Bespin in this line, it's still a good figure, but it just slightly falls short of the quality that's in the Han Solo figure and the Princess Leia figure, which we'll talk about next.
It's not true! That's impossible!
This Leia figure is very, very nice. I've already mentioned that I particularly like the face sculpt here. Again, the uniform is very, very nicely done, but I don't really know why they've given Leia this particular blaster. Now, this has been shown in Leia's hands in some promotional photos for The Empire Strikes Back, but she never actually carried this type of blaster in the movie. I would have preferred if she'd been packed in with an Imperial blaster. As a matter of fact, I would have preferred a Bespin Escape Leia figure, but there you go. So instead of packing in these goggles and this tool and this unusual blaster, I think Hasbro would have made a better decision if they had have packed in a set of replacement hands, so that you could remove Leia's sort of overcoat, her jacket, and change her hands to non-glove hands, and then we could have had a Bespin Escape Leia.
Why, you stuck-up, half-witted, scruffy-looking nerf herder!
And this is what kind of brings me to the one disappointing factor with these figures, is that some of the marketing choices, some of the product choices, I should say, that Hasbro went with, made it difficult for me to decide what toys to buy when I saw them in Kmart yesterday. What I really wanted was a core group of the three main characters, so Han, Luke and Leia. But what would have been excellent would have been to have either 3 Hoth characters or 3 Bespin characters. But by having 2 sort of Bespin fatigue figures and then 1 Hoth figure, putting the 3 of them together doesn't really fit, which is why I ended up going for the Yoda figure. I couldn't pass up Yoda because I already have Luke Skywalker and Yoda on the original Kenner card backs. I much prefer this photo for the Luke card back than the one that I've got here on the 6-inch version. So as a Star Wars fan who's not collecting all of the 6-inch Black Series figures, when I saw this particular wave, it would have been really cool if included in the wave, I could have just got the core group of characters all wearing outfits from the same environment, be it Bespin or Hoth or wherever it is, so that when I display them on the shelf, it kind of makes sense. And as opposed to getting Yoda, I would have much preferred to get a Chewbacca figure. So I did a little bit of digging when I got back, and lo and behold, you can get a Chewbacca as an Amazon exclusive, packed in with a a badly damaged C-3PO that he carries around on his backpack. But I'm not about to go out now and try and track down an Amazon exclusive in Australia, which is probably going to be quite hard to get. Probably going to have to get it imported from overseas and pay a ridiculous amount for shipping. So potentially I may actually customise this Leia Organa figure. I may paint her hands a flesh tone, remove the outer jacket, and then see if I can track down an Imperial blaster, and then I can have the three core characters, the three characters that I love, all in their Bespin representations. But then of course Yoda's left out in the cold because he never really went to Bespin, so I don't know what I'm kind of gonna do with him. But overall I'm very, very impressed with these figures. The articulation is spot on. Han and Leia are the standout of the bunch for me, but I had to get Luke and Yoda because I love those two characters. I love the original Kenner figures, and for me they just go together, which is why I have a very limited collection of original carded figures from the vintage Kenner line. But because I love these two characters so much, that's why I've actually tracked down carded versions of Luke and Yoda. So if you do stumble across these figures in your local toy store or department store, and you're interested in picking them up and you can get them for a good price, I would recommend it. They look excellent on display on a toy shelf, and overall I'm quite pleased with this purchase, and quite pleased that I decided to make a short video about some modern Star Wars toys. So thank you all for watching, and if you like this video and would like to check out our video covering the history of the vintage Kenner line, you can click right here. Or if you'd like to look at our recent video where we count down the top 10 best vintage Star Wars vehicles, you can click right here. May the Force be with you.